My name is Steve Boderck. I'm the Global Vice President for Business Development and Sales, and welcome to our Crowdz Whiteboard demo. Today we're going to go through the journey of an invoice. We have a seller, a manufacturer of products, a buyer who's their end customer, and a funder that's going to be looking for an invoice on the platform to fund. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into uploading and preparing an invoice for auction. So the seller has an option of uploading invoices in a few different ways. They can simply add a PDF, Word document, Excel if they have it, or they can also interface to their accounting package and select a number of invoices to be uploaded. We also have the ability for optical character recognition, and the system also allows you to create an invoice on the system to send to the buyer. So in this case, we're just going to upload one invoice. It's going to be for $1,000 and it's going to be 30-day term. So once that invoice is uploaded, it's then sent to the buyer. The buyer then says, I've got 30 days to pay this invoice, so there's no action needed with the buyer at this point. Now, the seller wants to sell that invoice right away to get cash flow. So they're going to prepare the invoice for auction. Inside the invoice exchange on their dashboard is a public auction drop-down, which will have a number of steps. And one of them that's very important is the maximum discount that they want that invoice to have, and also how many days open the invoice will be on the auction. So in this case, they're going to choose a 10% discount, and they're going to say 2 days open for bidding. And that's the process of uploading and preparing the invoice for auction. Okay, so now that the invoice is ready for auction, the funder will get an alert that there's a new auction to bid. And these alerts can be tailored to a specific end market or geographic region, or specifically to that seller that they've done business with before. So the funder sees that the invoice has a max bid of 10% max discount, and then it's going to be open for 2 days. For example, though, if they put in a 12% bid, the system is going to reject it, saying that the max bid is 10%. So in this situation, they'll go ahead and bid the 10%. And at this point, the seller gets an alert that there's been a bid. They open up their dashboard and they see that our funder has bid a 10% discount. They have 2 more days to go, so they'll wait the 2 days to see if there's any other bids that are lower. But for this case, let's just assume that they are happy with the bid at 10%. They accept the bid. The funder gets a notice that their invoice has been accepted, the bid rather for the invoice has been accepted, and that's all that's needed for this process. All right, so our invoice was accepted as a funder, the bid was accepted. So now let's get into the funding and the reconciliation across the platform. So the seller knows that their bid was accepted, the funder knows the bid was accepted. The seller now has to wait for funding. The funder routes the money to their bank account. So in this case, our invoice was for $1,000 US. Their bid at 10% gives them a $900 fund. So they send this $900 to the seller receives it in their bank account, and everything is done for the funder. Now we have to go through the reconciliation process, because at 30 days, the buyer then has to make the payment back to the seller per the terms of the original invoice. The buyer sends the payment across as they would normally do to the seller to their bank account in the full amount of the invoice at $1,000 US. The seller receives the money and immediately then sends it through back to the funder for $1,000 US. And now the funding process is complete. The seller has received their money 2 days, less than 2 days, for a 10% discount, and the funder receives their 10% gain on that funding through the reconciliation from the buyer. And that's the end of the Invoice Exchange Whiteboard demo. Thanks for your time, And please connect with us if you'd like to see a full demo on our system, or if you'd like to talk to anyone in sales and marketing to understand further how Crowdz operates. Thanks again.